Okay. All right. So today we are going to make furry animals, mammals actually. And I've shared a bunch of pictures. The cats are for Alka and Zai, but I guess both of them are not here today. So we can start with some other.
I love the dog. It's the
Isn't
best.
it?
Awesome.
This picture, I think, was taken is a series of pictures of dogs that was made for a dog food company, I think. So they would chuck dog food in the air or towards the dog, and then the desperation with which the dogs would reach for it has been captured. I'll send some more pictures. They are
Amazing.
absolutely hilarious. I suspect if we were caught in one of those sporting moods, like somebody's throwing a ball at us or something, people make really crazy faces when they're trying to focus and catch a moving object, and somebody is snapped at that time. Same things happened here. Okay, so we're going to do a bunch of easy illustrations right now. I don't want to get into making too many detailed illustration at this point because it requires understanding of consistency, brushwork, and a certain lightness of hand. That will happen in time. If we get the time for it, I will demonstrate part of it, how to work with an almost dry brush with very little paint in it. Um, but if you don't get the time, maybe I can make a video later today or something, and I can speak about it and share that recording with you. So we are going to start off first with just making a sketch of the cat, the black cat, which is sitting with its side profile. We are going to make some loose sketches first, and then we will move to making a more detailed sketch. Uh, After the cat, we will move to the horse, and then there's a wonderful illustration of the a bull. And all these are going to be quick sketches to warm up the hand and help the your eye move to pertinent angles and distances and such. So obviously these first sketches, we are not going to spend more than about 5 minutes per sketch. And we need to put in more lines and remove. So don't worry about the erasing bit. If there are multiple lines, use them as guidelines in order to build better lines. So in this sketch, I want you to just observe how you're drawing. There is a chance that you might still be holding the pencil too close and you might be restricted to drawing that one perfect line, and that will take a long time for you to get right. But if you hold the pencil a little further away and start making lines that are looser, lighter, and then building with just straight lines, some places hold your hand above the paper, don't plant it on paper. And some places definitely plant your hand on paper so that you can draw defined lines. I want you to observe how you're drawing this in the 5 minutes. Even if your horse looks like a donkey and your bull looks like a cat, don't worry about that. If the line looks confident, that will make the illustration look compelling. So I want to demonstrate how I want you to do it. So first, please just observe this and then you can start making it. All right, so I'm going to make the cat. We don't make the cat too large. As it is, it's a smallish picture. So we are just going to make it about this big. When you are seeing the image, just make sure that the image and your book are in the same plane. So if you're seeing the picture on the screen, hold the book upright and allow your eyes to do a very short movement between your drawing and your reference image. Now, when you're drawing this also, hold the pencil over here, plant your hand down and draw lines like these. So you're getting some shapes. If you try to draw this with your hand in the air for a small picture, you'll keep your pinky down and will kind of restrict your movement to how strong your arm is. Don't bother with that. You can make shapes like these, which are easier, and try to get the gesture. So in this picture, we don't really have a clear view of the fur, but you have an idea of the fur. You have a silhouette. Some places the fur is very long or straight, and then some places you have only fur. So when you have something like that, either you can make all these lines or forget all lines. You can just indicate that this is fur. This looks like a much more elegant drawing rather than trying to make all those multiple lines. See, this will look puffier. So in all of this, my hand is planted down, but it keeps changing the angle that it's drawing. The first part I drew with my hand fairly far away. And then as I come closer to make the smaller lines, I bring my hand closer to the tip so that I can control the line. And then as I go even closer now, I change the line that I'm drawing. Here I drew lots of flowing lines. Here I'm going to draw mostly straight lines to get the geometric shape of the cat more accurately. And the shading bit, again, you can hold the pencil far away. I'm going to encourage all of you to do some shading. And move your fingers. And then back further closer to draw the fur. Here again, scribble. Let that scribble texture be visible in a few places. And change the pressure so that in some places you have a light scribble and some places you have a dark scribble. Now notice how I am making straight scribbles, though the hair is curving down her back. But I am making them in short stripes with the darkest pressure towards the back. And this side, I'm going to create a negative shading to create that depth. We have to have depth in our picture. So you have to keep looking at the reference image. Don't just assume things and sketch. Okay? You want to start? You can give it a shot now. Now, even for the tail, don't be tempted to do this part. I'm just going to show this to you. This drawing the tail hair by hair. I have done this in the past and I don't know why. Then you look at it and it looks no better than a jhadu. And you wonder, Kyari, I'm trying to draw each hair. I'm spending so much time. Why is it looking like a jhadu? Because a jhadu has got such defined lines, but a furry tail of a cat really doesn't. It has smudges. So it's got a smudge of black and it's really soft. So you don't see lines in some parts. You do see lines in some parts, and then you just see shadows in some parts. So you are creating an illusion of soft fur. So your lines can't look like jhadus then. So this is what I learned much later, that you need to translate the um, the whatever you see in the image faithfully according to the nature of the line that it is created by. See, after all, we our reference image is also a bunch of colors and color pixels put together to make it look like a cat. It's all an illusion. So we have to translate an illusion basically. If in our heads we see each hair because we know it is hair, but if we were to think like a computer, we see a gray mass that is supposed to represent hair. So at best, you might have a few lines coming here, but the rest of it needs to look like how we see it in the picture. Now, the other thing that we also can do is make a few negative lines in between. So color around or shade around a few sections so that a few white lines are visible in the dark section. So for all furry animals, somewhere or another, you are going to have some lighter fur being, I guess, backdropped by darker fur, like what's happening over here. So even if you have a few of these white looking hairs, or like what's happened here, that is enough to uh, maybe look like a white colored fur patch of fur. Okay, so this is furry cat. Moving on. We are Our 5 minutes are done. And I'm going to erase this jhadu because I will not be able to live with that. Okay. Now for the horse. So I want you to do a quick analysis of the horse. We can make this picture in detail also, but I've deliberately taken a picture of a horse that does not have too many details very clearly visible. The eye is not visible, the face is not straight, and it has a beautiful gesture. So a gestural illustration would be much more appropriate. But again, within that, I want you to try to assess the picture of the horse with its internal geometry in place, like we normally do for a detailed illustration. So we've got some kind of circle where the head is. Then we've got some kind of circle where the body is. We've got a few lines of I guess, placement. So from the head, the top circle, right to where it's the supporting foot lies is a straight line. Then at half of the first circle, we have the ears of the horse. They are at a particular distance. One of the ears at a particular distance away. So there is a very nice internal geometry over here as well. And this always helps. So how far does the nose come? How far does this foot come? All of this is available to us. Dividing the rump part into 4 parts because this is where the hind leg, supporting leg comes. There's one there, and there seems to be one here. No, from maybe here, in fact. But it's not visible behind. And then you have a triangle made by this. I don't think Leonardo da Vinci could have been the only person who saw this. Okay, I'm sharing this image. So you can use that to make the sketch. You don't have to make all the geometric shapes though. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to make the geometric shapes as well. You have one circle, line going down. We can measure it in terms of that circle itself, or you can just eyeball it. Then this is a bigger circle. That's about it. And then I'm going back to the original image. And this also again 5 minutes. Now here again, I'm holding the pencil far away, but I am keeping my hand on paper firmly planted. I will keep changing the angle. This foreshortened ear in the front, look at how it is, huh? It is just like this. It's like a shape like that. So don't try to make it look like an ear. In this case, now the lines could be slightly longer. So here you can make these. You can also make just a block first and then start making the long lines. Things like a little circle to indicate the knee. It always helps us to check if our positioning is accurate. So from knee to knee, you can check if they're at the same position. This one is slightly lower. So once you have this shape, you can build in the texture. Don't make the face in the beginning. You can make everything else before you come to the face. And when you are making the final lines, at that time, bring your pencil closer, hold the book, and then start drawing each section. Now, a little bit of shading will help you to gauge whether you're getting the right proportions. It will also help you to figure out your dimensions. So shadows in the right places. Now I can see that my uh, the body has become too large over here. Now in this case also, the tail, just make the silhouette of the tail and shadows in on the right side with softer lines. So even if you've done so much, this is perfectly okay. If you're making the face, um, look at the shape of the eye and try to draw it separately if you need to. You could also use a smaller pencil or a well sharpened pencil for this part. So build the shape of the eye. How is it going? Do you have any questions?
Thankfully, it's looking like a horse, thank God, but the bottom is a bit off.
Okay.
Can you see?
Wait, I'm just pinning your picture. Not bad. So it's actually looking very Hussein kind of horse, no? Straight line.
Yeah.
So I think, Ritu, sharpen your pencil. Your lines are dull. So that's why they're looking a little fatter than they should look. When you
Also,
sharpen,
the bottom has got constricted, no? Here?
well, I think if you increase the height of the horse, the body, the torso,
Hmm.
then it will balance out.
Okay. Let me just check.
But do sharpen your pencil.
Sure.
Okay, now the last sketch, the bull. If you finish the horse, you can try the bull. So this one I'm going to leave you to decide how you want to do it. You can choose whichever technique or figure out your own technique also to make the bull. But think open mind. Don't don't second guess yourself. Now here there is a little bit of foreshortening on the leg. So there it might be like a test. Are you seeing a leg or are you seeing the line? It all goes almost horizontal. And the hoof goes horizontal, sideways in a C shape. That's all you should see. For an animal that's so powerful, its eyes are still doe-like. It's such a contrast. Everything around the hair, chin and the neck of this bull is a little textured. So do keep it that way. Its ears are hiding behind its uh, horns. You might just mistake them or forget them or not draw them. Then it'll, and again, your bull will look odd, a deaf bull. Now, the hair on his forehead is lighter than his face, also, right? So, we can easily color the face darker. If you're making the eyes, make them well inside the socket. So, you have a nice thick lid coming out, almost like how when women wear heavy mascara. And then around that, you can shade in such a way that the face looks dark. There is a direction of line you will see there. If you can, make it in that direction. Like over here, it's slightly horizontal, but then it becomes sideways, angular for a bit. And we can use the same thing for the rest of the body also. At least the front. But remember to scribble. We are not doing a very refined illustration. Okay, are your hands loose enough now? Now maybe we can attempt that dog. You need 5 more minutes? Okay, just 5 minutes because maybe you're already overdoing it. So if you can find the time, do these exercises at least a couple of times a week. I'm sure you'll find lots of different animals. We've also done birds a couple of weeks ago, so you can do this. Helps you to start seeing proportions in features that are so close to portraiture that when you start doing portraiture, you are able to see those features as objectively as you are looking at animals. And then your portraits start becoming more accurate. Plus, being able to do an exercise to strengthen your hand and free your hand at the same time. These exercises, or the animals, birds, and further the reptile illustrations, will give, they're different from drawing buildings or cars or even designs. There we have, or flowers, even insects. It won't be the same as when you do sketches of, when you make sketches of things like animals and birds. The quality of the line requires a certain organic bend, which in flowers is very tiny because one line does not cover things like muscle and bone or hair. So it's relatively easy to do. But here it's like a different ball game altogether. So I've always found that this is much better.
But Aditi, do you not always make a grid when you're making animals or whatever? Like
Not
how you,
always.
like the bull, you didn't make the grid, right?
No, I didn't make the grid.
Mm.
I feel that the grid is useful in the beginning, but
Mm.
I tend to unless I'm making an absolute accurate illustration, say if it's somebody's portrait, even then I don't use the grid as much. I think it's too much of a crutch. Our eyes are able to discern things very well if you train them. That training requires a little bit of, I guess, tolerance or patience with that, your ability to build up to that level. Oh, let's see Shivani's. Nice. This is good. I like. All right, shall we start? Okay, now let me see everyone else's. Ah, good. How cute. Your Ritika, your cat's tail is still looking a little like Jhadu. Huh? So thoda a little soft. Softness will help. When I share this image now, you'll be able to see it better. Let's see the clues. Oh, nice. Very good lines.
I tried a lot, but still, I kept, scribbling like that. Then I was like, no, no, I don't have to scribble. I do a shading, don't
Ah,
out of texture, but still.
yeah. No, it'll change. Once you know, it's like you see, I guess there must be a story about this also somewhere. Like some people can only point at negatives and see this is not ye nahi hai, or isse bhi better is something better. Somewhere where you cannot go, but they have seen it. To some extent, we have to go through that. It's like meeting that personality every time you draw. And you're like, okay, dude, but just, get over it. Tell me what I've done right. So then you have to find that which you have done right. So in most cases, I feel that you all are not worried about how your line is looking. You're just drawing the line. Once you put that line, it's like putting a stake in the ground, saying, now I have done this. And then you say, oh, okay, now I can maybe adjust it and put it to the next, somewhere else. But you have a reason for it. The first lines are all just andaz punchy, that maybe it's here.
No,
But now,
I
yeah,
felt very confident. I never thought I could make this horse and bull. But when I started to sketch, and I think in the retreat, you always told me, hold your book. Because I used to just be like this, the other hand is somewhere else. So it really helped me because now I'm holding it and then I'm also observing whether my fingers are moving when I am doing that. So it's really helping me now.
good, good. In the live classes, I get to see how students hold their pencils. So yesterday we had a live class. Today we'll have in-person class. So I've noticed that in the beginning, everyone is holding the pencil too close because you are drawing like how you would write, and that can give you only a few kinds of lines. So you have to learn to become very flexible on this. And I found that this is something that experts of all fields land up doing. You'll often see these videos on YouTube nowadays that say respect, where you have somebody who's skateboarding. They won't be going straight. That is how normal people would go straight. They will hold that skateboard up, do some kind of gymnastics. So we have to just tell ourselves what kinds of gymnastics can I do with a pencil or a brush. That is the level that I have to achieve. All right, now for the dog. I just want to do the dog because he's so adorable. Let's make a painting of this fellow also. We'll do a little bit of shading with pencil and a little bit of coloring. So wherever the fur is dark, we will already have an underlayer of pencil shading. And then we just have to put some washes of whatever color is suitable or appropriate. And that should be done. So this would be an interesting technique to try as well. So use a new sheet of paper, and you could use paper tape as well to block the edges so that when we're painting, we can give a nice blue backdrop. I think part of the beauty of this image is the backdrop. It's so adorable. So I'm going to go over the proportions over here. First and foremost, let's see the proportion of the frame. From the corner, I'm going to start making a square. Now, to know exactly what the proportion of the entire rectangle is, I will make a horizontal line across the top square so I know where the half mark is. And then I made a bottom line about the same. So it's 1.5 or 1 3/4 of a square tall. That is the height of the frame. You get it? Okay, so this I'll share. Now coming to, oh, sorry, I could have kept it. Now coming to the vertical. In this, now I can draw just more lines at quarters. So this is one grid. In this now, I can make a grid for other stuff. Like I don't really see a circle, but I'm going to make a circle anyway. Somewhat like this. And then from the tip of the nose, angle of the eyes, center of the ear, so I'm just drawing these lines on to give me some, I guess, some shape. I have a square for the nose, a triangle mouth, a parallel line of the mouth for the neck. And I see how the line of the nose and this of the shoulder and this shoulder seem to be parallel. So there are some lines that can be connected or correlated to each other. It's the other side of the mouth, top of the nose, edge of the face. Very confusing, but you'll find some reference here. Okay, I'll share both these. So you have both the grids to work with. And if you feel that you don't want to work with a grid, it's perfectly fine also. So we have to make a rectangle that is 1 3/4 of a square. Here's what we can do. We can fold this in half.
Aditi, which brand of tapes do you use? Because mine just lose their the
Adhesive.
gum. Yeah, terrible.
I'll share the picture.
Yeah, because otherwise, if I get the other one, then it just pulls the paper off.
Yeah, that is for furniture and walls. Okay, so I have made these lines. So I've got 4 parts over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. In that 2, I can reduce it by half. So this is 0. This is 1 square, and this is 2 squares. But I need only a little more than 1 and 3/4. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and a little more. This is my height. Now I can measure the width, which is this. So this is reasonably accurate because we get to mark all these points. And do measure your rectangle even with a pencil to see that the top and bottom matches. This often happens that by the time you put the tape, it's gone a few to the left or right. It doesn't look accurate. There we go. Now it's much easier to make a grid. Even for the grid, remember, you don't have to make all the lines and you don't have to make them through and through. Just make them in pertinent places. Okay, now based off of this first, not first, this is the second grid now where I made all the squares. In the third, so these are 4 columns and these are 7 rows of squares. In the third column, um, second and third column, third and fourth row is where our circle comes. Now, even this, don't draw the whole circle. Use the circle I have made to give you an idea of where you want to place the features of the dog directly. So you have fewer lines to erase. The square for the nose or the rectangle for the nose is somewhere here in between the fourth and fifth row, first and second column. Check these angles out. So I like to use grids in class because it's easier to communicate what to draw where. I can give you objective directions. But if you try to draw without these, it's difficult to instruct. So I'll say, now take this line here and then take it there, whatever. That here and there can be very confusing. So when you are drawing without grid lines, you might still need something to lean upon. That's where those clock face lines come in. Just coming in a couple of minutes. I'll make the eyes a bit later. So before I start with the eyes, I'd like to shade the nose. And in this, you will see wherever the nostril is, mark the end or the edges of the nostril bit, but start the shading in a medium tone, slowly moving into a dark tone towards the center, or from the center rather, not towards. And then move outward so that you can expand the size of the nostril once you are confident that you've put it in the right place. And as usual, don't make too many sharp edges. Usually these edges are fairly soft, so you can go over these spaces with your pencil a bunch of times with a light pressure. That way you just smudge the lines. Now I like to start shading at this point so that I can get a better understanding of the spaces, uh, lines, directions, placement. because the space starts filling up. So this part you can do slowly. And if need be, certain places use the eraser to get rid of the grid lines as you go along. Leave some of the grid lines, don't erase all of them. Leave some of them as reference points. So you know you can go back to the grid to check where you might have goofed up if you feel that something was not looking right. So I prefer to shade from the middle of any shape towards the outside because usually the middle we can be sure of. And once you're sure of the edge, only then you should darken it. Now remember there is a certain amount of fuzz around the dog's nose. So leave that section a little blank. This illustration, we are trying to make it more realistic. So pay attention to some of these details as well, like the texture of the lines on his snout now. In the earlier sketch, we would have just filled it up with some kind of scribble. But now, maybe a little more care would help. Now I will check for the spacing of the mouth from with respect to the nose. I'll maybe also make some of these whisker things. So even when I'm making a line way over here, I'm checking how far does it look like it should be from the nose. And I have a feeling I have overdone it. This part itself I've overdone. And this is bound to happen because our grid lines are very, very loose and not necessarily 100% accurate. So I keep saying this, that for 100% accuracy, we just go ahead and make a regular grid, a 1 by 1 grid, or 2 by 2 grid, 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, or 2 by 2 to get the right shapes. But I want to avoid doing that. That is a guaranteed way of drawing or maybe creating a portrait. So we know that that is possible, and someday maybe we'll try that as well. But we're using all these different techniques to strengthen our eyes. So it's better to put a little bit of a challenge there. If there's no challenge, there's no development. Now, drawing the teeth again can be another challenge. Don't look at them as teeth, just look at the shape that they make and their position. I think my dog's mouth is going to become huge, very long. That I guess it might become even funnier than that way. So I'm not making the pink of the tongue because we might paint that part, but I'm making the other stuff and I'm also making where the tongue ends, which is here. So this part inside the mouth is not a shadow, it's just part of the dog's coloring. But here we do have a shadow. That's the shadow of the face itself on the tongue. It has a very peculiar shape and then it's got these lines of the whiskers as well. When you're making the fur, look at the direction of the fur every time. It's going to be different for different animals in different places. Since we are going to paint this, you could make just a few lines to indicate where the fur is and make sure that you remove the unnecessary grid lines as you proceed. Now here's a tip. Before you make the eye on the illustration, maybe you want to try making the eye in rough first. So I'm going to the previous page and I'm going to draw just the eyes of the dogs. I'm enlarging it. I'm going to draw the two next to each other. So one eye is over here. It's like a inverted U shape. And then you have, it's rounded from the bottom. And then you have the eyeball somewhere over here. You also see a part of the inner lid on top. But the eyeball comes, bulges out beyond that. Then we have a very nice highlight. I've made the space for the highlight slightly bigger. And then I will probably fuzz it up a little bit later. This is the lens, and right in the, it's not right in the middle of that oval. So we need to look at it very carefully for its placement. And I think the animal is meant to look a little squint. So even the other eye, yeah, it's looking straight down ahead. So we have that, and we have a slightly dark lower lid. A few hairs over here. And the what I call the eyebrow hairs going from almost touching the inner part of the eye. Certain distance away. I'm going to draw more fur and then move that distance away. Slightly higher. I will have inner eye, bottom lid going slightly up, this straight and then turning around. The membrane is closer to the left. This is all the thickness of the skin from the inside. Here again, I will shade from the center. And then shade outward. So in the colored part of the eye, notice how the part over here on in the inner side of the eye is slightly darker than the outer side. If you can see it and if you can make it, do make that subtle difference. And don't forget to make this dark bit underneath the eye as well. Leave a little highlight for the lower lid. It always helps to practice it in rough and then do in the fair illustration. Now, since this is so tiny, I'm going to shift to my clutch pencil. Big enough, I think. And for furry animals, every outer line can be made with this kind of furry line that I normally tell you to avoid. So if at some point you feel confused about the lines of the fur or what direction they're taking, don't make any lines over there. Move or jump over those lines and go to the next point where you can see how the fur is growing. Because you'd rather wait and make the line correctly rather than make a wrong line and then have to suffer the consequences. So even the edge of the head, you can make it with just these fuzzy lines, just fence lines. Once you have drawn some basic shapes, then you can enlarge the image and draw the details. I would avoid making enlarging the picture to see the details unless you have locked in a few shapes in, because otherwise all the proportions can change. Okay, it's already 11. I didn't even realize. So 10 minutes more till we finish the drawing. And then we can maybe color it in the tomorrow's class. So again, before I forget, tomorrow we do have class, but we'll have it at 10 Sunday timing. Had we decided on some kind of reptile? Was it this class that asked for a turtle or something?
Let's do something else.
Something, sorry?
Something else. We've done turtle before.
We have, right? Yeah. So I think it was a Tuesday class that asked for snakes. How is everyone with snakes? People have a lot of problems with reptiles. I myself have problems with lizards, so I doubt if I'm going to draw lizards.
There's so much. That's so nice, detail wise.
I know.
My
It's
God,
if
the
only I didn't have to live with them, I would probably draw them.
We have
But
monitor lizards here every day.
monitor lizards is still okay. They're bigger. These house lizards now,
Oh, very
they are
gross.
horrible. Or geckos. Ugh. I have drawn pictures of geckos. I mean, I love all animals. Maybe I won't draw a cockroach, but my curiosity is higher than my disgust, so I'll probably draw that also.
Can you do some butterflies?
We are going to do butterflies and insects in the last week.
Ah, okay.
So that'll be on the 9th, no? 9th or 10th? 9th. So for tomorrow, the plan was some kind of amphibian, crustacean, not crustacean, amphibian or
What
reptile.
about like a chameleon or something?
Or
Yeah,
fishes?
we can do chameleon, we can do fish also. If you have any pictures, that'll help. Just send them across so I can
I
have
saw
it.
this online. I'll just send it to you.
Okay.
I put it in this chat in this group.
Okay.
Zoom.
All right. I'm quite happy with my dog so far.
So nice your dog is. Mine looks like Scooby Doo.
This dog is like Scooby-Doo.
That's true too. Mine looks more cartoon like.
Okay, so before we finish class today, or even after we finish class, everyone can just put down a wash of cerulean blue outside of the dog. I think that should be doable.
In this photo, behind his mouth,
Hmm.
behind the body, there seems to be like some
This part, right?
There's
skin. Yeah,
something.
what is that?
I have no idea. It probably is the tail or God knows what. But it
Maybe he
looks,
was lying down and suddenly got up or something.
it
Is
could
it?
be that. And sometimes the tail wags and comes into the frame without, I
Oh,
guess, the animal knowing and definitely the photographer. So it's just there what to do.
mm.
So this can look beautiful even as a pencil sketch with watercolor backdrop. I'll just show you how this works. And of course, you can choose the backdrop you want to because it's just a plain color. I just love this blue against brown composition. It always works
But Aditi, just post this pic also on the group, huh? The
without
one
painting.
without whatever,
Okay,
because sometimes I find it easier to paint when I look at your stuff
okay.
rather than look
Yeah,
at the
one second.
picture.
Let me change the setting then and take a picture. Okay. For the wash though, turn the book upside down. I think that would be better. I think the flow is better than the other way around. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. I just find moving my brush towards the right a little better than left. So if there's ever an edge that you can finish a wash at, that is where you should come towards rather than the other way around. Like in the case of this dog, here it ends on a body part, but when we turn it around, this can now flow down to one clean edge. If you don't have that option, then obviously just look for long channels over which you can train the paint. But I find this a lot more controllable, this section. Even this will look nice if I finish the eyes. So tomorrow, let's try painting this fellow first. And then we will move on to the reptiles. Are you, for those of you who are okay to start at 9:30, I'll just log in at 9:30 to finish painting of the dog. If you are available and you can join, that's great. If you're not, let's do our regular class from 10 o'clock. Because then we get the entire time for the reptiles. Otherwise, this dog only is going to eat up most of our time. Okay? So 9:30 is optional, and then 10 o'clock you all can log in. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow then. Bye.
Bye, Aditi. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Aditi.
Bye, Shivani.